Good morning, children. Our today's topic is Sultans of Delhi. The period from 1206 to 1526 CE is called the period of Delhi Sultanate. During this period, 5 different dynasties ruled Delhi region. These were the Slave dynasty, the Khalji dynasty, the Tughlaq dynasty, the Sayyid dynasty, and the Lodi dynasty. Sources. Before we go on the history of Delhi Sultanate, let us first see the sources of information which give us the account of what happened in this period. The coins, architecture of building, mosque, the account of foreign travelers, and those of the court chroniclers give us a lot of information about the state of development and activities of the people of those times. The famous traveller Ibn Battuta came from Morocco, and his travelogues provide us valuable information about the reign of Muhammad Tughlaq. Hassan Nizami, a migrant from Ghazni, provides us information about Qutbuddin Aibak. Literary works of Minhaj-e-Siraj called Tabaqat-e-Nasiri tell us about the Delhi Sultans. Ziauddin Barani lived in the court of Muhammad Tughlaq and Firoz Tughlaq and wrote an account called Tarikh-e-Firoz Shahi, which also gives us an account of political history of the Delhi Sultans. However, one has to be careful about interpreting these accounts. The chroniclers lived in the courts of the rulers, and the international travelers also saw parts of the regions. Thus, the information in their writings were not very holistic and may even be far from ground realities. The Slave Dynasty from 1206 AD. Qutbuddin Aibak. Qutbuddin Aibak was the founder of the Slave Dynasty. He was a slave of Muhammad Ghori and had helped him in winning the Second Battle of Tarain in 1192. He was appointed by Muhammad Ghori to look after his territory in India, and after the death of Ghori, he declared himself the Sultan in 1206 CE and ruled from Delhi. He was a great commander and tried to strengthen his position with the help of marriage alliances. Qutbuddin Aibak was also famous for his generosity and was called as a Lakh Baksh, means giver of lakhs. He was a patron of art, and the construction of Qutub Minar started during his time, but it was completed later under the rule of Iltutmish. He also built a mosque called Quwat-ul-Islam. He could not follow his policy expansion as he ruled only for 4 years and fell while riding a horse and died in 1210 CE. Iltutmish. Iltutmish was the son-in-law of Qutbuddin Aibak. He faced many difficulties during his reign. To keep a check on the powers of nobles, he organized a team of 40 loyal slaves who kept him informed of the happening in the kingdom. He was able to check the Mongol invasion from the northwest frontier with his diplomatic skills. He also followed an aggressive policy towards Rajputs. Iltutmish divided the empire into iqtas, means provinces, which were given to the nobles, and they had to maintain law and order and collect revenues from the iqtas. These nobles who headed the iqtas were also known as iqtadars or muktis. He also introduced silver tanka and the copper jintals, which were the coins issued from Delhi. He was a skillful administrator, organizer, and a diplomat. Razia Sultan. Razia Sultan was the first and the last Muslim woman ruler to sit on the throne of Delhi. She was the daughter of Iltutmish. After the death of Iltutmish, his son Ruskunuddin was placed on the throne, but as he was incompetent and poor in the administration, Razia overthrew him. She had all the qualities of a great ruler. But it was not acceptable for the nobles to be subservient to a woman, and therefore the nobles of Multan, Lahore, and Badaun revolted against her. They accused her of giving preference to Malik Yaqut, whom she raised to a high position of administrative power. Serious rebellion was instigated by Altunia, the governor of Bhatinda. Razia marched towards Bhatinda to quell the rebellion along with her trusted Malik Yaqut, but they were waylaid and Yaqut was killed and she was imprisoned. The throne of Delhi was taken over by her other brother Bahrain. Seeing no way out of custody, Razia married Altunia and then they both tried to overthrow Bahrain from Delhi but failed and got killed. She was known to be an icon of strength and took on the orthodox social systems of those days. She dressed and acted in a manner which displayed courage and valor. She was a good administrator. After Razia Sultan, a number of weak sultans came to the throne of Delhi till 1266 CE. Ghiyasuddin Balban. Ghiyasuddin Balban was one of the great rulers of the slave dynasty and followed up the policy of blood and iron. He crushed the revolts by Mewati Rajputs and rebellions in the Doab area, which created a reign of terror. Ghiyasuddin Balban tried to strengthen his hold over the kingdom by taking the following measures. He introduced an efficient spy system to keep a watch on the activities of the nobles, governors, and other officials. He put forward the policy of divine rights of the kings, according to which the Sultan is the representative of God on the earth. He introduced the practice of Sizda. This was a practice where people were required to kneel and touch the ground with their forehead in salutation to the king, like it is done for the gods. He maintained strict discipline in the court and maintained distance from the courtiers and nobles. He himself kept control over the entire administration and made appointments as per his choosing. The Khilji dynasty from 1290 to 1316. The Khilji dynasty. The slave dynasty collapsed within 4 years of the death of Balban. The power struggle commenced amongst the others who had ambition to take over the throne. Jalaluddin Khalji, who was the commander of the army under the grandson of Balban, took advantage of the situation and laid down the foundation of Khalji dynasty as rulers of Delhi. Unfortunately, he himself was 70 years of age when he captured Delhi, and he was soon murdered by his nephew Alauddin Khalji. Alauddin Khalji. He was a great military commander and administrator. He had ambition to be a world conqueror like Alexander. According to him, all the revolts that were taking place were because nobles were leading a luxurious life and they were hatching conspiracies. He observed that the network of spies was weak. To check the trend, he took the following measures. Organized a successful system of spies to keep a watch on nobles and governors. Prohibited the sale of wine and restricted social gatherings of nobles. Confiscated the properties of the nobles which they had received as gifts of grants. Other than this, his strict administrative policies listed above, he brought about new economic policies. He wanted to provide essential commodities to people at reasonable rates. And at the same time, he wanted to collect money as well for maintaining a large army. The measures he took for this were: first, regulation of the prices of essential goods. Second, controlling the sale of the items so that everyone could get them. Third, appointing inspectors to ensure that traders sell the goods at the fixed price and do not hoard. Fourth, sending spies to keep a check on any irregularities. Fifth, keeping a check on weights and measures. 6. Establishing a system of godowns to store grains after crops and release the same when required. 7th. Punishing the offenders. Revenue policy. To ensure that he maintained enough stocks of food and had enough money for his army, he raised the tax level to 50% of the produce of the peasants. This was known as kharaj. In addition to this, there were taxes on cattle and house as well. The land revenue was based on calculations of yield. All land was declared as state land. He confiscated all those lands which were given to various sections of population by previous rulers. The Sultan's administrators measured the land holdings and maintained their accounts. Some of the old landlords served as tax collectors. Security of the northwest frontiers. To secure his kingdom, he repaired the old forts on the northwest frontiers and appointed special governors. Strong armies were stationed at Multan, and responsibility of defending the borders was given to experienced generals like Zafar Khan and Malik Kafur. Alauddin succeeded in establishing a vast empire in India. In the northwest, it extended up to the river Indus. In the east, it extended in areas of Uttar Pradesh, Orissa, Bihar, and parts of Bengal. In the north, the empire extended from Punjab to the Vindhyas. In the south, except the Pandya rulers, all others accepted his dynasty.